Holy crap, it is the third week of Inktober stuff or Cattober stuff. Again, this is the 31-day challenge in October, and I am doing it alongside my very dear friend Quillandcanvas 1907 or Tatty 1907. She has those two different names across the different platforms. I cannot believe it is time to already do week 3 of yapping about the pictures that we've done up until this point. It's kind of crazy. We've been saying this the entire challenge, but like things have been going like so fast and so slow at the same time. It's definitely a struggle. I feel like in week 3 I'm in that kind of stretch where I'm really kind of pushing it and trying to also not cross that threshold of just getting completely burnt out. I do understand, because we've chosen to do it this way in our own way, where we kind of have done the thing of doing fully finished pieces. It is easier to kind of start to feel that slight lag behind. The funny thing is that like we do actually tend to draw daily outside of this challenge, so it's like kind of funny that it feels that way. For some reason, there's just something a little bit more daunting about it when it's Inktober or something that's like related to a challenge, because I feel like you subconsciously set these standards for yourself at some point, and then you feel like you really have to keep matching those. I don't know if that's related to anything with me personally, how I operate or anything like that. It probably is, but yeah. Anyways, that was a really long intro to say hi. I'm Candy. If you have been on the page for a while, thank you so much for staying here and kind of hanging out and following this journey. If you are new here and you've never seen me before, I create characters and stories along with Tatty 1907, or again Quillandcanvas. We work together and we share all of these characters and different things about them. However, there are characters that were originally created and designed by her, and we tend to call it piloted. So whenever we do role plays or when we are writing for them, we each pilot our own characters that we have originally made. There are some nuanced things where one of us has made a character and then the other has kind of taken over piloting by request of one or the other, sorry. But yeah, that's basically the gist. So we make original characters and original stories. So pretty much everything that you'll see across all of the pages that we both post on, which by the way, please go to her pages everywhere as well. Everything is always linked in the description. But yeah, we draw solely original characters. There is the very slight rare occasion where we will kind of draw something that's fan art if we feel so inclined to, or there have been instances where we have drawn like other people's OCs or done art trades or whatever. A lot of those were a while ago, but we tend to mostly only draw OCs because we are working on our stories. I think everybody is just kind of working on their things, and it would be really cool if everybody could be passionate about each other's projects. I think it's so fun. I personally adore seeing everybody's like OC stuff and the lore that they post about them, so hopefully you also find this sort of thing entertaining. Both of us make these videos where we talk and yap about them. So again, please visit her page. She has put out several of these videos as well. We are kind of trying to track the progress throughout this month of our work that we're doing through, the various weeks that are happening, obviously. So yeah, I hope you like the yap session. Grab some tea and be cozy, or a snack, or just chill, or let me know what you're working on. If you maybe put these kind of videos in the background to work on stuff yourself. Are you doing Inktober or some variation of it, or are you just working on personal projects? Anything is good, anything is great. Please share in the comments or on the other pages. I love to kind of check out what everybody's working on, and it's always fun to kind of have that inspiration flowing in all of the areas. So yes, I'm going to get into these various pictures and then kind of just share my thoughts throughout the video, as I have been kind of doing. And I'm doing a bit of a different format this time, so hopefully it works out. But that was a very long-winded intro to say I am going to start talking about the pictures as well. And the first one that I am going to be talking about is this one with our characters Lessa and Daeyun. Now forgive me, I'm going going to forget to say, probably like as I'm just getting excited and talking about various things, I probably will forget at some points to say that I, like Tatty has originally made Lessa and I have originally made Daeyun. And so I will probably forget to say who who makes which character throughout this video, so bear with me for that, but you should be able to kind of find it through context on our other pages and just in general anyways. But yeah, so this first picture that I am doing is for the prompt, which is day 15, and the prompt is desire. So day 15 is desire, and I have decided to draw Lessa and Daeyun for this prompt because due to their like story. So once again, I will reiterate the thing that all of our characters exist in different storylines, and some of them exist in different realms from each other. However, everything connects. So there are some who are in like the Earth realm, which would be like our realm basically, but it's kind of like almost an enhanced version because there are supernatural elements and celestial elements and like super natural like abilities and stuff like that. So yeah, they all connect. Some people are in the Earth realm, some people are in a realm that we call Esmerin, some people are in different realms that connect to each other, like the town of Vogel or the Dome storyline and where those people live. So yeah, all of our stories connect in some way because also their connection to like the gods in the pantheon that we have are also like interlaced and connected, and all the eons and different beings all kind of connect. So that being said, this storyline that I'm featuring for this particular one is a little bit complex in that, well, a little bit is actually kind of a nice way to put it. It's very complex because there's actually different iterations of them and their storyline, for lack of a better way to say it. So this one is featuring the storyline which we refer to as Kaveh-Khanum, and this would be the closest to present time for them. So Lessa has a really long ancestry, and we kind of are able, and this links back to the pantheon and the gods. I've said this before in other videos, so it's not like a super spoiler or anything, but Lessa and Aristeas are like they are one being, and so Daeyun and Danaeus are also one thing, and so all of their details and elements kind of link back to Aristeas and Danaeus, and then it goes through the long lines, and then we get to them, which are the current like reiteration of Aristeas and Danaeus. So technically, like, they're the same person, but it's like the body has been made anew, and it's like their new vessel. I'm really not describing this well, but that is the very simplified version. Honestly, if you want more detailed and understandable descriptions of things, you should definitely check out Tatty's videos for that. I'm a little bit more rambly when it comes to this stuff, and so I'm not going to deep dive too far, but there's just a lot to them. They're very intricate, and I do love yapping about them. I don't always get everything correct, but I try my best. But yeah, so this is based around the Kaveh-Khanum storyline because this is how they look in the Kaveh-Khanum storyline, and again, this focuses on, it's more like current day but also elevated, so they have like more technological advancements and things like that. And Lessa is able to use this mist ability that you're seeing in the background. I have kind of stylized this particular piece to kind of almost look a little bit more like a cover art or something like that. And I wanted to focus on their feelings towards each other because in Kaveh-Khanum, there is a long period of time where they go, where Lessa, a bunch of stuff happens, and one of the very big antagonists has kind of interfered with their relationship and their relations in general. And this has been like an ongoing thing and an ongoing threat that they've been facing. And so Lessa kind of doesn't remember Daeyun at first. Deep down and subconsciously, he does remember him, but basically that's kind of the gist of it, is that he is not remembering him yet. And so Daeyun has kind of come up with this idea, this plan to kind of help him remember and like regain those memories that have been messed with and tampered with. And so there is definitely a good chunk of the story that they are both having this intense desire for one another, and it's for slightly different reasons, but for the same goal. So Lessa is trying to get back to understanding like what's going on and why he has this really big inkling and feeling towards Daehyun, whereas Daehyun is, you know, obviously desiring him. So to be clear, also, Daehyun has this problem at first as well with the memories, but he gains his back through certain means faster than Lessa because, again, the main antagonist is like really brutal, really kind of like insane. Kind of is a very kind way to put that, but they are like insane. So yeah, it definitely has affected Lessa more, I would say. And so I just kind of wanted to capture the passion in their feelings for each other. And again, I kind of have stylized this, so it's like, you know, the background is pretty simple. Week 3, you'll kind of notice I have struggled a little bit more with concepts, and many of these, if there is a background, I have actually very strongly asked Tatty for help, or at least her opinions on if it looks right and, you know, correct. For some reason, I have a really bad time with like perspective and what do you call it, like depth perception. I am not very good at like sizing things to make them make sense in a scene. I don't know if anybody else has that much of a problem with it. I feel like backgrounds are kind of a hard thing for like artists and stuff in general, but I would love to know your thoughts on that because I feel like I particularly have a really hard time with like depth perception and whatever, so I don't know. But yeah, I kept this pretty simple, and I do think the image is pretty like self-explanatory. It kind of speaks for itself, I would say, but I actually am pretty happy with how this came out. So this is another one where I also use the different method. Usually my process is to kind of do a sketch, and then I will do line art, flatting, and then shading, and then adding extra effects and stuff like that. And somewhere along the way, the background comes in. But for this one, I actually did the thing where I did a sketch, and then I cleaned it up and kind of wound up merging everything together and shading it that way. So I actually quite like that process. I don't always want to do it because sometimes it could be tedious to clean up certain things, but overall I do really like how this one came out, and I like the effects in the mist, and I think I particularly made both of their faces look super cute, and like the shading. I'm often too scared to go too intense with shadows, and sometimes I think I go overboard, but I think this one turned out pretty okay. And again, there's so much to say about them, genuinely. But again, I am not the best to deliver the information because I get jumbled up and like all over the place. So if you want to know more about them properly, definitely check out Tatty's page and various posts about them. But most importantly, they are both desperately and passionately and painfully in love, and they are both deeply affected by all of the events that happen to them throughout the entire timelines and all of the stories and iterations. So yeah, that is day 15. So again, Lessa and Daehyun for the prompt Desire. So the next prompt and the next day is obviously day 16, and that prompt is Glisten. So the character on screen is Delira, and Delira is a princess and one of the sisters to the Bala family, so Palavini, who you have seen on the page in other posts, I believe, or at least like in my sketchbook tours and stuff, she has shown up, I'm pretty sure. She is with Aram, and they both come from separate like empires and then join together. But Delira comes from a family where she has 6 other siblings. There is 7 children altogether, and she is actually the second oldest in the line of siblings. And this image is actually particularly linked to a couple other pieces as well. So first of all, this one is matching with Tatty, directly with her piece, because it's kind of like hers is before and this is after, technically. Also, just to mention, but Tatty is the one who originally made King Himaliel as well. But it also links back to pieces that I did last year for Inktober. So the little doll in here, which is like the little ballerina on the mirror, it's actually made of ice, and the reason that it is sustained in what is seemingly a very warm environment is because it's actually created with Himaliel's like aura or powers. I have explained this very slightly, but basically in Esmeralda, and that's where these ones reside, everybody has auras, and all of the aura colors make it so that you are able to have different abilities, and the colors that one gets, or the color that one gets, basically kind of defines the ability, and it's usually affected by genetics or region or various other factors, and there's a lot of intricacies to this as well, and it's something that I've been working on for a while and trying to make it make sense, and Tatty has really motivated me to like make it make even more sense. So pretty much everyone is only born with one color. It fully develops when they're in their like very young toddler age. So when they're a baby up until the point that they're like 5 years old, the color is kind of undecided, and then at some point it kind of solidifies, and that is the color they stay with. Like naturally, it is possible to learn other colors, but that's like very rare. It's more rare and very difficult. You have to work hard to hone and cultivate those skills to be able to use other colors. There probably is rare cases where someone could be born with multiple colors, but it's very, very rare for that to happen. You usually get one color to start with, and that's like the basic gist. Now, when people are in a certain region, they can kind of guess that they're going to get that color. However, it is possible for them to not get the typical color of the region. So for example, Himaliel comes from Harlarak, and they are known for being a very cold blue zone, for lack of a better way to call it. That's kind of just what we refer to them as, like the different zones. And so pretty much you can kind of guarantee that the Glauci that live there are going to wind up having that blue aura. And so this kind of changes per region, and per like family, and the genetics and all that. But basically the auras are obviously adjacent to like magic, so it's basically just our magic system in Esmeralda, and again this spans across all of the different realms, and it's just called different things in the different realms. So they might not refer to it as aura if they are somebody who can use a supernatural ability in like the earth realm, for example. But anyways, that was very long-winded to say that this ice doll was created by Himaliel, and again, if you look at Tatty's day 16 for Inktober, you will see him actually sitting in his little throne room creating this little ice doll, and I think it's absolutely adorable. And she told me also that he would be sending these to her and creating a story with it. So the first one that she receives, they are actually in person, and they meet during one of Delira's sister's parties. So it is a party for Ivasha, which is the third away from the youngest. Ivasha is. And the party is technically for her to find somebody who she's interested in kind of marrying and, taking as a partner. But instead, Delira meets Himaliel. He's been invited. He's a little bit hesitant to go, which I also think is so cute. He's got such a sweet, cute personality. They just like mesh so well and have such good chemistry. But yeah, so he's a little awkward to go at first, but he winds up being very glad that he goes because he meets Delira, and she obviously, of course, is very glad that he goes as well. Another small side note that I'll add is that Shasan actually operates a little bit differently. It is definitely a matriarchal system, and it isn't totally required for them to like find someone to marry. And also they do not like focus on gender or anything like that. It is just something that is within the desire of both Ivasha and Delira to find someone that they want to marry, whoever that might be. And particularly Delira is like very hopeful to start a family and wants to do that in her own way. So that's just a small note that I wanted to mention. The party that they have is also kind of to help mend some relations that they have, because obviously due to a lot of the things that have happened in the somewhat recent past, past, they have a bit of a strained relationship with a lot of the different nations and lands around them. So the party is also for that reason, and to get to know them a little better as well. And so they wind up talking, and one of the first things that he does is actually create this little ice doll for her, and they kind of talk, and they're exchanging different things about their culture and interests that they have, and she's kind of explaining how things work there because of the different events that are happening for the party and just the palace in general. One of the things that I highlighted in this image was the stained glass that is behind her. So this is a really common thing in Shasan, in the Empire. They have magical like enchanted stained glass, and so it's found all throughout the palace, and actually the central room in the palace is referred to as the stained glass palace, and like just the thing kind of in general is referred to as that. That's just how it's known affectionately. And so she's kind of showing him around and showing him these different things. And so this particular image, I think, takes place in her own personal room. She's at like her little vanity table, just admiring this sweet little gift that he's given her. And just thinking that it's so cool. Delira, obviously, Shasan is like complete opposite of Harlarak in that like the climate in Shasan is very hot, usually warm all of the time. It is very like desert area. It's not entirely desert. There is some like green areas and stuff like that. But it does tend to be more desert climate most of the time, or all of the time basically. And so she has never personally actually seen snow or anything like that. So it is something that really, really piques her interest, and she absolutely adores it. So obviously getting a chance to kind of see something like this made of ice is incredibly cool for her. So yeah, she is admiring this little gift, and I think the other ones kind of get sent to her through like their mailing system, I would say, or during visits. I'm sure he also gives her pieces of the little story that he's telling when they get to visit each other. So like I said before, this is linked to other pieces. So there is the other piece that I did last year of Hamaliel actually creating the ice doll, and then I have actually done a piece of Delira seeing the snow for the first time. So it's probably during like either the first time that she visits there or the time where she finally gets to go and stay there. Because there's a difference between seeing the snow on the ground and seeing it actually fall. I think it's pretty magical to see it fall. But I think snow is so pretty anyways. Like, I love the way it sparkles. I always try to capture that whenever I do snow pieces. So again, since this prompt was glisten, I really wanted to capture the sparkling, dazzling effect of the ice. So hopefully I caught that. This is another one where I did the thing of doing a sketch and then kind of cleaning it up and then shading over top of that. And I actually was kind of vibing a lot doing this. Me and Tatty have been kind of hanging out on call as we do these pictures and watching some fun cozy videos or just yapping. I absolutely adore when she just yaps and talks about things, even though sometimes I get so deeply focused because I feel like I have to use so much brain power to figure out certain things, but I enjoy it so much. It's so fun, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with this piece, and I think Hamaliel and Delira are absolutely adorable. I'm really excited to share more about them. I mean, I'm always excited to share more about all of our babies, but you know what I mean. Okay, we are on to day 17, and there's actually a bunch that I want to say about this, so hopefully I remember everything as I go. There's just various things I want to say about this, but first of all, I'm going to say this is Frederick and Fabrizio, and Tatty is the one who originally made both of these characters. So it's somewhat rare within, like, our characters and, like, all the lore and stuff that we would pilot both partners of a ship. We tend to try to do the thing where we don't really force characters to be together. They kind of naturally incline towards each other, and we kind of roll with it. Like, they definitely tell us what they want, and we kind of try to follow it as best we can. So it's a little bit rare for us to have like ones where we pilot both characters in a ship. However, I think there's something so special about these two in particular, the fact that Tatty does pilot them. Now, it has come up in question to like have me pilot for one of them, which I am not opposed to. However, I just think that there is something very special about them both being linked to her and like her mastermind behind them. I said this in the previous one about them, like when I did the one where they were children, that I just so much appreciate her world building, Tatty's world building, and character development for the different characters and like all of their lore and details. I think she's so good at that and the way she puts it together. There have been some struggles with these two. Some pretty bad ones. We had a little bit of a thing with them, which I obviously won't get into. It's a little personal, but I just want to say that I hope that all of the air that we have with them is kind of cleared up by now, because I don't mean to be that guy. She is a little bit harsh, especially on Frederick, but that's a story for another time. But I just think that they're so cute. I really love their backstory, and that's kind of a weird way to put it. It's very sentimental in different ways, because they really truly go through a whole lot and face a lot of things, both personally and together as a couple, or just as friends, because there is a long period of time where Frederick, we kind of talked about this as well, but Frederick either kind of doesn't realize that Fabrizio is super duper into him, or he kind of has the feeling of like inferiority kind of, so he doesn't know why Fabrizio would be into him, which is really horrible and so sad because he's so like sweet and precious, and he's just a very good person. He struggles a lot with self-worth and kind of always feeling like he's in competition, whether it be with himself or his peers or even sometimes his siblings, I would probably say. He goes through a lot where he's kind of incredibly depressed, and a lot of things that follow that topic. We try to be really sensitive when it comes to things around that topic, and I don't want to say too much because one, Tatty has touched on this stuff in her video, and two, I don't want to misrepresent him at all because, again, I think the way that she handles them and handles the topic in general is actually incredibly well done, and I tend to not always know what is kind of good to say or the way to like word something, so I don't want anything to get like misconstrued or anything like that because I would feel horrible if that happened. But just know they go through like really a lot, and so for this prompt in particular that I did with them, I really wanted to kind of focus on something that was like happier, a little bit more lighthearted, and kind of depicting a moment where they are, I kept saying in like my descriptions and stuff, this reminds me of like either it's around their wedding when they've had like a bit of a costume change or something. Like, I don't think that this is their actual like wedding clothes. I'm sure they probably have something even more fancy and like prince-like and stuff, but I tried to give them something very princely for both of them, and this is like either a costume change at their own wedding and like a photo opportunity there, or if they have, or it could also be like they're attending some of their like friends or peers' wedding, and this is just a cute little photo op that they got at a different friend's wedding, which I thought could be fun. And so I did two versions of this where, since the prompt is photograph, I wanted to honor the prompt, but I did want to draw the picture in fold just so that the sizing of them could be drawn in the length of like all the other pictures. And so then I took that and basically kind of bent it and did the second version of this, which you will also see up here, where I took that image and then made it into a photograph, which then is sitting on top of Frederick's little piano. And I thought that it would be a cute thing because it's very artsy and kind of like aesthetic in the way that it's set up, and I feel like it really kind of fits their personalities. So Fabrizio is an artist, like a painter, and Frederick is a pianist, but he's also a teacher, and he does many, like they both kind of do many various things and have different little hobbies that they do, especially because because they have like a little group of friends that they kind of get together with and do different stuff with. I just think that they're so sweet and precious. Like there really is so much to say about them, but at the same time it's hard to put it all into words. Again, especially because I don't want to misrepresent them in any way. But they just really strike me as the type of family, because later on they wind up getting 2 adorable little babies as well. And they just definitely have that very like warm household. I mean, Frederick also comes from like a family where he is, he has 4 other siblings. He is, 5 in total. Fabrizio he actually only has 1 other brother, but like they both have families, whether they are like directly their blood related families or families that they kind of create because other people become so close to them that they are their family. Like they just wind up having a very big warm household. Frederick of course has like his adoptive father, quote unquote, Killian, which I think is like official. Like I'm pretty sure it's like actually official that he's like his adoptive father. But he also has like extended family, so he is also related to some other characters that you've seen on other pages. If you follow any of the other pages, Sergei and Lawrence, like he's related to them. And then of course they are friends with Solomon and Matvey, and that also extends to Lessa and Dayun. And then like I said, they have their own babies, Nadia and Noah, but then they also have like a bunch of nieces and nephews as well. And not everybody lives in like the same exact area, but a lot of the family members and like immediate family kind of does live pretty close. So they just strike me as the type to just have really nice house parties and really cute, warm, fun holidays and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, they're very cute. I'm very excited to get to explore them more, especially because I think a lot of Teddy's old writings with them, and they're already so well done, but it's really fun always to see things that were worked on in the past and to just see her voice for them and how they've kind of upgraded and developed through things that she has let them do. And yeah, I don't know, they just have a very special place in my heart. And Frederick and Killian are very sweet, like very, very adorable. They have a lot of very deep and special sentiments, I think, for both of us. So they all have a very special place. Fabrizio also particularly has a special place for me, for many various reasons. And Tatty will know what those are, what I'm referring to that. But yeah, I just wanted to capture something warm and cute, and hopefully my yapping wasn't too rambly and it made kind of sense. But that is day 17. And also, day 17 is Frederick's birthday, so like, of course I had to do something special. I couldn't resist. Like, I don't know, it was fun all around. I just had to. Okay, day 18, the prompt is tea. And this is one of the ones where I started to struggle really, really bad. The next few pieces, I kind of struggled pretty bad. There are 2 coming up that I didn't have so much of a struggle with, I think, but this is one of the ones that I definitely struggled with pretty bad. So this is Dorian, first of all, and this is another one that is made to match directly with Tatty for this day. She drew Percy, and Percy is actually the god of life. And the funny thing about yapping about the characters is like there's always so much to say, and I feel like there's a lot of details that I wind up kind of missing or forgetting to add. So they are another pairing that just like has a lot of facets to them, and it would be too much to kind of explain everything, and even to just explain every detail about how our pantheon works and stuff like that. But basically, Percy is the god of life, and Dorian is someone who he knew while he was a human, and then there was a horrible, tragic thing that happened to Dorian, and then Percy did something to kind of interfere. Being the god of life, he interfered with that, and he basically was able to bring Dorian back. However, because methods like that and things like that are technically taboo through like the pantheon and the different laws and stuff that the gods have set up, it was done in such a way that was almost, I don't want to say hasty, but for lack of a better word, like he tried to basically scramble to, make it work. And again, this is better explained by Tatty in her video, like totally, but basically what happened is that Dorian came back and everything is pretty much the same, except for he doesn't have his memories from the time when he was that other version of himself, the human. So his personality and things like that are kind of entirely different. Like, he's basically a different person, but the same person at the same time. However, one thing that I would definitely like to point out is that everything about him might be different as far as his personality and stuff, but I definitely think the deep love and devotion and loyalty that he feels for Percy pretty much almost right away, in my opinion, when they like meet up again, is like undeniable. That it kind of is, must have bled over from when he was that other version of himself, because his love for Percy is like, it's unwavering, really. He absolutely adores Percy. Again, Tatty is the one that originally made Percy. She actually originally made Dorian as well. And this is one of those instances that I was mentioning where, one of us will make a character in a ship. So there's two characters. They make both of them, and then we'll like kind of have the other person take over their quote unquote piloting. So whenever we role play with them or write for them, we become kind of that voice, but also kind of bounce ideas off of each other and make sure we try to let them be as authentic as they want to be. Like I said, for the most part, our characters kind of talk to us and tell us what they want to do and don't want to do and that kind of thing. So so Dorian is somebody that she originally made and had all the concepts for and stuff like that, along with Percy. And then she asked me to kind of take over piloting for Dorian. So hopefully all of the elements that I've added to him since then are okay, and she actually does like them and vibe with them. But Dorian is basically a demon. He's almost kind of like, I guess, a version of an incubus almost, because he feeds off of energy by doing acts like that. So intimate, sensual stuff like that. And his unfortunate victims kind of get consumed by him. So there's a thing within our lore that's also like, these creatures and stuff that link back to the supernatural ability, even that like Lessa has, and Agatha, who is actually a person that is a part of the whole group with Percy and Dorian and all them. They all are in the same household. So not Lessa and Dayon are not in the same household. Sorry, that was confusing. Agatha and Sandro are two characters that are in the same household with Percy and Dorian. And then there is another person, Annalise. She is technically more like a spirit at this point, a being, I would say. And then also in that household sometimes is Ulysses and Lucian, which Ulysses is actually Agatha's twin brother. The more that I'm saying this out loud, I understand it's probably incredibly confusing and weird the way that I'm saying it, but bear with me. So Dorian, again, like I said, he's kind of a little bit of an incubus almost, because he feeds off the energy, and so he takes victims in that way. And basically, unfortunately for them, again, they get consumed, and he is able to kind of keep operating and going, and that's what he does. However, I have learned recently that Tatty said that like he doesn't even actually fully need to do that, especially when he links back up with Percy, because Percy's like, bro, I will just feed you this energy. He is definitely the jealous type, which is absolutely adorable. Percy is constantly like pouting and being so cute, and like, I don't know, he's so funny. Their dynamic is really funny. I like their dynamic. He's a little bit like Soon, I would say, Percy is, but he's also like incredibly affectionate. He's one of those babies that's like angry cat, but how dare you not cuddle me right now? You know what I mean? So he's very cute, and Dorian is like 1,000,000,000% ready to always cuddle him and kind of make things better. He's a very easygoing person, in my opinion. I think there are periods where he kind of worries, like, maybe this guy doesn't actually like me. There have been moments like that, I think, and we even conversed about this too, for like the representation of them and all that. But I do think like pretty much 100% of the time he's just like, oh, okay, we're doing this now, okay, come here, I will cuddle you. And there's actually a few videos on my TikTok where I've done with them where it kind of showcases their personality in that way, which I think is so cute. Percy's just adorable. I freaking love Percy. He's so funny. Like, he has such an interesting role in everything, even in accordance to like Aristaeus and Danaeus and just all the events that are related to that. I like his relationship even with Uriel, who is our king of the underworld. And just in general, I think him and Dorian are super cute. I'm excited to share more about them as we go. Once again, if you want a better explanation about them, you should check out Tatty's video. I'm going to keep reiterating that as many times as possible. But I think I kind of covered them. But basically, to quickly sum up what this image is about, it was made to go with hers because she said in hers that Percy had gone to Dorian's house and Dorian had like gone out or something like that, and so when he comes home to what is in her image. And this image that I've drawn is a little bit more like stylized to kind of be quirky to go with hers, but really I think his initial reaction to seeing Percy there would be like, oh, like, hello, sir, what are you doing? There's also a really funny like meme image that we saw, and I kind of want to draw that as like a fun, silly little doodle at some point, but it's just a person sitting and blowing into the top of a teapot and then making the tea shoot out of the spout. And I'm like, imagine Percy's just sitting there so serious, and instead Dorian's like sitting there doing that. That like kind of sums up their dynamics in a little, you know, in a little snippet, I would say. But yeah, that is day 18. Tea. Thank you to Tatty for also doing this background, because I had no freaking clue what to do for this or the background, and his pose kind of just came naturally, because if there's one thing I can do, I guess it's like effeminate, slutty men. So there's that, I guess. Okay, day 19. 19 is the prompt absence, and again, this is another one I had absolutely no clue what I wanted to do. And Tatty suggested a few different ideas, and one of them that kind of stuck out to me. I mean, all of them kind of stuck out to me, but I feel like some of the days, for all those who have this problem, it is like also, I've been dealing with it being like, you know, that time of the month, and that does not help with like motivation and energy and anything. And this one particularly has been brutal, so I'm just gonna say that. However, anyways, she gave me a few different ideas, and one of them was this. So this little cute little baby that you're seeing on screen right now, this is Buttercup, and this is actually Prince Terrence and Goylin's little dragon daughter. So Terrence originally found Buttercup, and she was just a little egg when he found her, and she had fallen off of a little cart, I think of like thieves or something, were kind of taking dragon eggs, because this is one of the things that happens in Esmerin. They kind of steal you know, dragon eggs as one of like the main things that they take, because there's different things that you can gain from them, you know, with magical abilities and stuff like that. So dragons are something that gets stolen quite a bit, I would say. And I'll get back into that lore for just a second, but I wanted to say again, Tatty gave me this idea where Buttercup is looking out the window, kind of admiring the birds flying, and I think this is something she would do probably pretty regularly. I think that Goylin, so Goylin, Tatty originally made Goylin, and Goylin, it becomes Prince Terrence's guard, and then of course they become much closer than that, and then become hubbies. But I think that Goylin and Terrence probably have worked together to make her little swings and stuff so she can kind of imitate flying. And then of course she also sits on their head and shoulders very often, and Goylin himself, after a little bit, that's again whole other bits of the lore with his wings, but after a little bit he's able to use his wings again, and so she can also fly or experience that by sitting on his shoulders and back and stuff as he's flying. So that's another little tidbit. But she gave me this idea because Buttercup here actually has kind of stunted wings, so her wings didn't grow fully properly. And now going back to the lore that I was starting to get into, this is because when she fell off that cart, her egg was pretty badly damaged, and she just basically didn't get to have the fully correct environment that she would have needed to grow properly. So most dragons originate from a Brularenth, which is where Goylin is originally from, and that is the Gorgon lands. And so dragons originally come from there, and the environment there is just a lot easier for them to grow and thrive. There are other places where they can grow fine and they do thrive, and I do think that the pixie dragons, which I keep calling them that, I don't know if that will be the official name or not, but the pixie dragons, like Buttercup here, I think are probably found in a couple different regions, so she wasn't completely totally away from her original environment, but basically she just wasn't able to fully finish incubating and developing in an entirely proper way, even though Terrence did his absolute best. Like, he studied everything he possibly could with the limited resources that they have and did absolutely everything he could, and it's kind of like a pretty good big deal that the only thing that kind of was really affected on her is her wings. She's also kind of the runt of the litter, I would say. In my opinion, I think these pixie dragons kind of range from being like ferret size all the way up to like a panther type size, usually. And they usually have very big, very like giant, like butterfly, moth, fairy wings. So her wings should technically be really huge, unless, of course, I mean, you know, they can fold them back and stuff, but even more so than what's shown in the image, I think they should be a little bit poofier if they would have developed normally. But so basically, that's what this image is all about, is that she's kind of looking at the birds flying, and she, being a dragon who is supposed to be a flighted species, because I do think that there are ones that are, you know, they don't have to fly, or they don't have the ability to fly, and that's like in their species to do that, or breed, or whatever you refer to that as. I guess it would be more breed rather than species. I'm kind of misusing that word, but yeah. So her particular breed is supposed to be able to fly. There are others who don't need to fly or don't have that capability, but this is her kind of daydreaming about that, I suppose. But she's not like sad. I wouldn't say Buttercup is like completely depressed by that. I think it's just an innate desire in her, since she's supposed to be able to fly. It's just kind of something that she would like to do. But she's a very happy girl. She's a very spoiled girl, and she absolutely loves her dads, her dragon dad, her sparkly dad. She is very happy with them. And this is her just sit in Terrence's room, most likely, or at least a room close by. And yeah, she's just looking at the birds. And I really appreciate Tatty for giving me this idea, because I was totally stumped, but I also mimicked the way she drew leaves in some of the other pictures she did. And yeah, I did kind of have fun with this. I think the colors came out a little unbalanced. I was trying to edit them, but for some reason they just came out a little bit wacky, but I do like it overall. I think she's pretty cute. So yeah, and Buttercup's adorable, and Goylin is so sweet to her, and Terrence absolutely loves her. And even Terrence's sister, and obviously his sister's wife also, they all really love her. I think she's just a sweet, cute little companion. So yeah. Okay, we are on to day 20, and this prompt is eerie. So this is another one. Had absolutely no clue what I was going to do, and you probably will be able to tell that a little bit, because, you know, the background in this one wound up being pretty simple. It's kind of just a color, because I really wanted the focus to be on what is in the background. And so these characters, both of these characters, Tatty has originally created again. And they are actually part of the ancestry that I mentioned earlier that is related to Lessa, like his family and family lines and connections. This is Lunya, or Alexei Myashnikov, and he's typically called Lunya. So his husband, Dorothea, usually calls him Lunya, and then they have a little baby son later. Sometimes he refers to him as like Papa Lunya and stuff, but most people who are close to him call him Lunya, so that is how I will refer to him as I'm talking about this. But he is basically Lessa's grandfather by 5 times, so great grandfather. And behind him, this very creepy little fun fellow is actually not sinister towards him. It's actually attached to him. So this is D'Artagnan. You have seen him, again, if you look at any of the posts on our other pages, or even last year, I drew him for one of the prompts for Inktober, and he was with Lessa in that picture. But in this picture, I basically just wanted to capture the prompt. I think eerie is pretty... It's one of those types of prompts where you can kind of do almost anything, because as long as you kind of get that like unsettling feeling, or almost like, you know, borderlining just straight up horror, it's, you know, it fits the eerie the eerie prompt, the eerie brief, if you will. So yeah, I kept it pretty simple in regards to that. I just wanted to highlight him during the time that he is connected to Lunia. So D'Artagnan, again, I'm not going to explain absolutely everything. One, because of spoilers. Two, because I don't have absolutely all the intricacies. But D'Artagnan is basically a being that spans all the way back to the time of Aristeas. And from that time period, he starts to get like passed down through the family lines that are then created to link back to Lessa and then Aristeas. So Lessasteus. Hopefully that makes sense. So D'Artagnan spends time through centuries and centuries going through different people in like the bloodlines of, you know, Lessa's ancestry. And so this is during the time where he is linked to Lunia. They are in like the Victorian period, kind of. We keep making the joke that D'Artagnan will at some point say to Daeun and Lessa, because they're like, oh my goodness, like, why do you look like that? And he's gonna say, you know, in reply that it was in my Victorian era. So we keep making that joke, which I think is hilarious. A little Easter egg in here. But yeah, there's not too much to say about this because it's a pretty basic image. However, there's a lot to say about like Lunia and their family. Like I said, Tatty has been setting up a lot of things, and then we kind of work a little bit together and bounce ideas off of each other for things that we're writing. And the stuff that she's put together for like Lunia and that part of the storyline is like really exciting. I'm super excited to get into all of them, especially coming next month. Like I said in the previous video, it is NaNoWriMo next month, and I am just like sending out all the good energy. I hope that we all have a great time next month and things go at least somewhat smoothly a little bit, so we can dissociate from other horrible things going on and and try to have a okay time. But yeah, so there's so much to say about Lunia and their family. Like I said, they have a lot of like intricate little details, and they have a pretty large family, so like immediate family and then family that extends from there as well, because Lunia and Dorothy wind up getting together. However, there is like a little bit of a discrepancy there, because obviously during their time period, it's, you know, a little bit taboo for them to be having these relations due to like, you know, obviously their desires as two men, first of all, but also like status and things like that also play a huge part in it. Lunia is trying to do what he can to basically support his family and give them a good name, because he had a terrible shithead father, basically. And so he is doing what he can. He is a military man. He joins the military, and he is like their greatest asset, especially because he himself is strong and like very intimidating and very smart. And then with the addition of this fiend attached to him, he obviously does like even extra damage on the battlefield and to their enemies. So he is like their greatest asset. And basically, for part of their story, Lunia has to obviously put up this kind of front of having a wife and then having a baby with that wife. However, I actually love the dynamics of this so much, so I don't want to reveal too much or get too deep into it, but I think the dynamics of this, I feel absolutely horrible for Lunia and the way that he is suffering. Obviously, that's like just that's just a given. Like, I'm not trying to minimize that at all. However, I really appreciate the dynamics of Marfa and her secret lover, her secret little lady, and the dynamics between like Dorothy and all of them, and then all of them kind of as a group. It's so interesting. I'm so excited to get into it, and even though there was a lot of suffering involved with having to kind of be like quote unquote forced into the situation, great things come from it, because then comes baby Alyosha, and that is the baby that Lunya and Dorothy kind of take over and parent. And particularly Dorothy is like extremely attached to him. Lunya is attached to him as well, but like the dynamics are just a very interesting thing. Lunya is also obviously having to leave a lot of the time for the military work, and Dorothy is doing shady things behind the scenes. Not anything that is like meant to be harmful towards Lunya or anything, but it's just like, you know, the type of business stuff that he's doing. And so sometimes the baby goes along with him and learns the ways of the family, if that makes sense. No, but yeah, that, like I said, there's just a whole lot to say about them, but I really like the dynamics and everything that we've set up so far and that Tatty has put in there so far. So I'm really excited to not only get into their role plays, but to even, you know, write more for them and see what other ideas we come up with now that we give it another look and get going on that. But yeah, that is that. I do like how this turned out. I think it's eerie. Let me know. Do you think this is eerie, scary? I don't know. But Lunya is awesome and cool and eerie and very cool. So yeah, I hope I captured that at least a little bit for him. Okay, day 21. This prompt is Fate, and I am drawing our characters. So we have Lord Uriel, the king of the underworld, and Tatty is the one who originally made him. And then we have his little hubby, his little loyal, devoted hubby, Reziel, who I have originally created. And this picture, so this is another one that I actually struggle on the background. However, I do think I'm pretty satisfied with it overall. I basically based this on some very deep lore with them. Again, this relates back to a lot of the details and intricacies we have with our pantheon and all of the gods and goddesses related to that. But I will try to explain it to the best of my ability. So basically, Uriel, a long while back, because of other things that have happened and other events that have led up to such a moment, Uriel gets attacked by one of the very big antagonists that recurs throughout all of our storylines and through even the different realms. He gets attacked and he has to fight, and the fight is incredibly brutal and horrible. And it kind of results in him getting injured so badly that he winds up having to go into this kind of like stasis sort of sleep type deal. I said in the shorter video, he basically is like, his powers and his like strength is basically out of commission for a long while, for like centuries. So the fight, again, I won't explain too much about that because those are also some details we're still kind of like working out everything for. And again, I just wouldn't be able to relay it fully properly. But yeah, so he gets attacked and that fight lasts a while. Like it is like I said, incredibly brutal fight. And Reziel also tries to interfere, of course, because they try to protect each other. I think Uriel probably doesn't want him to interfere. And so there is definitely going to be that struggle of, you know, Reziel being like, holy shit, what am I supposed to do? And then like feeling absolutely horrifically devastated because Uriel is getting so badly injured. I think, you know, since he was ambushed, it also did not help with that, you know, not having the upper hand in the fight. And so this is also a thing that worries Reziel, of course. And so unfortunately, the fight results in that he's injured so badly that he winds up having to go into that stasis sort of rest, if you will. And he kind of goes into a coma, I would say, but it's like more intense than that because, you know, they are celestial beings. So it's like he's completely depleted of all of his energy, and the injuries that he sustains from that make it even worse. And so Reziel basically has had his heart ripped out and thrown on the ground and then shredded into billions of pieces. But he is not willing to let anything more happen to him. Like, you know, he definitely doesn't let his essence go away, and he does absolutely everything he possibly can to keep him there, even if he is in this stasis sort of state at the moment. And so basically from there, I think what happens is that Reziel winds up building him this place, like creating him this place where he can keep him there and take care of him. So he's like, you know, brushing his hair, cleaning him up, keeping him safe, while also putting him in such a place that's surrounded by, like you see in the background of this, there's a bunch of crystals around. And I think the reason for that links back to even like Esmerin and stuff, where crystals hold a lot of capabilities to be able to put energy into and then make like a constant flow of energy. So Reziel's plan immediately, aside from like sobbing and screaming because what the fuck just happened, his plan basically is to kind of feed Uriel as much energy as he possibly can through the time that he is in this sort of state, to kind of make sure that, again, his essence doesn't fade away and that he can regain his strength faster than he might if he was just kind of waiting for, you know, waiting for the energy to come back naturally. Because it's like, it is regenerative, but it's like, you know, again, there's a lot of intricacies to this and how it works. So basically, Reziel is maintaining him and his essence and trying to just make sure that, you know, nothing further happens to him. And so he spends centuries doing so. And the entire time that he's doing that, like I said, he's completely heartbroken and devastated and horrified because, you know, like I said, he's completely devoted, completely loyal. He is only, like, Uriel is his person, is his being. I don't know how you want to refer to that because, you know, obviously they're, you know, like I said, they're celestial beings, so they are each other's person, basically. And so Reziel is completely devastated. I think even the entirety of the underworld is really horrified and saddened by this, because Uriel is very respected by the people that he, like, you know, rules over in the underworld. I think they all have immense respect for him, and so they are all kind of, you know, feeling immense grief at this. And I think that they try to do what they can to also be respectful to him and potentially even help with, because I think that Reziel almost kind of goes on like a huge crusade to not only go and fight the other gods that didn't like stop what was going on or interfere more or help more. Like, I think he really fights them, and I'm not sure that they are okay after he does this. He also fights the antagonist that went after Uriel in the first place. So Reziel, even during the fight where Uriel got attacked, he does wind up interfering because, like, he can't just sit back and let things happen to Uriel. Of course, it just so happens that, like I said, because they were ambushed and because there's other factors at play, it just so happened that, you know, he started interfering. It wasn't fully enough. And then at the point where Uriel was so badly injured, he really just went ham and fought this antagonist incredibly hard, so hard that he nearly also caused them to also go into the same kind of state as Uriel. And instead, they wound up retreating and kind of running away like a coward, and they go elsewhere to kind of regenerate for a while because they were actually very badly injured by this as well. So he does that, and then I think, like I said, since he spends so much time regaining that energy to feed directly back to Uriel, he spends a lot of time going and hunting down various, like, spirits and beings and stuff like that that he could basically just eliminate and consume and absorb and then give to Uriel to, again, make this process go a little faster to where he can come back and have his full powers and energy and form again later on. And so the entire time that he is doing this, he stays completely devastated. I think it's so bad that he has basically permanent tears for this entire time. To put it simply, there's no other way that I could say that more eloquently, but yeah, it goes on for centuries that he's waiting for him. It's like around 300 years, maybe more than that, possibly more than that. and then eventually he gets to come back. And so this image that I've created here is supposed to be inspired by that, where Uriel finally gets to come back and he has his full form and full powers, and everything is, you know, back with him, and he is fully himself again. And at this point, you know, Reziel is seeing him return, and he's like filled out and everything, and he just can't contain himself anymore, and so he literally throws himself into his arms and is just sobbing. So yeah, I wanted to just capture that moment where they finally get reunited, basically. And fun fact about this, the pose is actually inspired by the Oran High School Host Club scene where Haruhi jumps into Tamaki's arms because of the thunder. I based the pose kind of on that because I just really like the way that their hands and everything look and how intense the moment is. So I don't know if you caught that reference, but yeah, overall, I'm pretty proud of this one. I like this. I love them. Again, they are another one, much like all of our characters, who just have a lot of intricacies to them, and hopefully me yapping about that was somewhat interesting. But yeah, that is day 21. I hope you like it. Okay, and we are on to the final image for this video. This one is definitely a little bit longer because of the way that I split up my weeks in here. It just wound up being that these final 2 weeks of Inktober, as far as videos go, it will be 8 and 8 as far as how many images are in it. So of course the voiceover and like narration is going to be a little bit longer. But yeah, we are on to day 22, which is the final day for this video. And it's honestly crazy to think that the next one will be week 4, and that will be the entirety of the rest of Inktober. That is absolutely crazy and bonkers. But anyways, day 22 is the prompt of protect. And I've decided to draw Prince Christopher, who Tatty has originally created, and then I have originally created this other fine fellow on the screen with him. So this is the first time that I'm actually properly revealing the beast form of Sin. So again, if you've seen the other posts and seen stuff in the other videos, you will know Christopher and Sin at least by their names, if nothing else. So Prince Christopher is the Prince of Ilvikar, and Sin is his Vicar, or his royal guard. And he has this secret that he keeps for a very long time during the time that he is in Ilvikar for various reasons, which I will explain a little bit in a minute. But he keeps this secret that he has this other form that he can shift into. And these types of abilities are referred to through the realm as beast shifters or anything adjacent to that. So basically, this is something that is very taboo throughout the realms. They have a very bad stigma about beast shifters, and there is various reasons for that. A lot of them in the past have not been able to control themselves in this form. It almost works like werewolves, okay? So in some cases they can't control their instincts in that form, and so they do like absolutely crazy hectic things, and other ones can kind of control the form more. But overall, the beast shifters have a really bad rep among the whole realm. So every region kind of knows that there's something not good about these creatures, and there was a long period of time where they were actually kind of just eliminating people who have this problem, and unfortunately we're also doing so even, you know, when they are very young, which is absolutely horrible and awful and should not have been happening, because a lot of the stuff that is the stigma around them is also not really fully true, or at least there is ways to kind of get around some of the things that they are worried about technically. But in particular, from Shasan, there is again, it's kind of hard to explain everything, but there's a period of time where basically invaders kind of take over Shasan, and so the ways that they were being run as a kingdom before were completely demolished and taken over by these other people who are horrible and terrible people. And the idea that beast shifters are cursed and really bad comes from them. So there are the like originators of Shasan whose system and the way that they ran things was was actually quite good. They were incredibly peaceful and they lived really well. There was the different like hierarchies kind of, but everybody was seen more as equal, and the ones who were in the higher positions actually did things to help, you know, the other common people and actually, you know, operate a little bit, you know, better and to try to make things better for everyone, basically. And so then when the ones who kind of invaded the place took over, they messed up a lot of things, and one of the things was the beast shifting aspect. They definitely brought it back up into kind of the public eye of it being horrible and bad and awful and a curse, and so it's something that has kind of stuck with some of the people as a worry. And while there are people who definitely vehemently believe against those who are the invaders that came there, there are ones who were kind of convinced and are scared of it, or they just keep the stigma going. And then again, this goes throughout all of the different regions because every region kind of has its different lore about the beasts, but they all wind up linking back to the same thing of it being bad and awful. Shasan has since kind of gotten rid of that invaders problem, but not entirely, because obviously that, you know, that is not possible. Just be like flip a switch and it's different. They have gone back to other rulers, the ones that were more like the original ones that were there. So that's a whole other thing to explain some other time, but I just wanted to clarify that because I do think that the ones that are there now, it's important to mention that Sin is actually linked to them. I won't say too much more about that right now because I don't want to give absolutely every detail, but he is linked to them basically and related to them, I will say. And I think that one of the things that is important to note is because he's related to them, the fact that he can shift into this creature kind of comes from that. I do think it's something that runs through their family, basically. However, it's not, you know, they're obviously not the only ones that have this thing that they can do. But they have definitely tried to reduce the stigma around these creatures and try to let people know and like better inform them about these creatures. However, that is a long road process because of all the damage that was done previously. So in general, across the entire realm, beasts and beast shifters are known to just not be good in general. But here we have Prince Christopher totally ignoring that fact because he is a precious baby and he has this inclination towards animals, and animals have this inclination towards him where they feel really safe with him and to be around him. So he naturally has this calming thing about him that draws animals in, and so he's like literally a little like princess who can like have all of the various animals kind of come around him and want to be pet by him and stuff like that. And so that's what Christopher kind of thinks is happening here. I think that he probably winds up having suspicions, especially when he gets closer up to this beast here. But I think that he initially just kind of thinks that this is another, you know, big animal that he is about to communicate with. And, you know, little does he know that this animal is much more than that. So this image, and again, thanks to Tatty, because this is another one that matches directly with her piece, so it's kind of like two different angles of the same scene. This is a scene that we talked about recently and kind of came up with the ideas for recently. And this is basically Christopher has been called from Ilvikar to go to Hylera for some business affairs, basically. And he's been to Hylera many times before. He is the one, like I said in my other video, who helped train Terrence in like his sword fighting skills and stuff. He is like, you know, became his brother in arms, and they've become very, very close friends. And, you know, he's just friends with Idle, and they all get along really well. And so regardless of whether he's there for business or visiting or anything in between, I think he likes to kind of go and have a look in the Enchanted Forest. And the Enchanted Forest is specifically linked to Hylera, and it is in Hylera, so you have to go there to be able to, I mean, like, you could go into the forest through other angles, but the forest is very dangerous, very intricate, and it is known to kind of be like this living being of its own. So I think that it's really hard for people to navigate. It becomes almost like a labyrinth for them. Now, The forest tends to kind of sense people's intentions though, and so someone like Christopher, since he is very pure and doesn't have ill intentions to go in there to harm the forest in any way, it definitely is more lenient towards him and kind of allows him to be safe there. However, during this trip, I do think that Christopher goes into the forest. There are guards and stuff that go with him just for safety measures, but I think that something happens and they kind of get a little bit ambushed by people who are trying to, you know, take from the forest, because since it is very magical and has a lot of like living essence to it, I think that a lot of people do try to go into there and steal stuff from it. It just doesn't always fare well for them because, like I said, it can sense their intentions, and it just, you know, doesn't usually go well if they're trying to do something very malicious. So Christopher and the other guards, I think, definitely get ambushed in some way, and it is a very dangerous situation. And now Christopher can hold his own. He is very smart, very crafty, and obviously very strong. Like I said, he helped train Terrence, so he obviously knows his way around a sword and everything. And weapons. He has actually a very cool set of weapons that he uses, but again, that's another that's another tale for another time. But yeah, so when this ambush happens, basically little does he know he is going to encounter this strange beast that shows up and also helps to remedy that situation. I won't get too far into details because I'm actually so excited and looking forward to the fact that we are going to be kind of role-playing that and working out the little details even further, but that is the basic gist of this. And so after that happens, he kind of has this moment where he is silently communicating with the beast, and you know, the beast is obviously approaching him and kind of cautious because Sin, since he has been keeping this a secret and because it has been something that he's grown up knowing is taboo and awful, and that he has had to use in the other situation that he was stuck in while being a captive, he is very worried about what Christopher will think about him if he finds out that this is him. However, he is very curious and intrigued by the fact that Christopher basically goes up and he's like, wow, kitty or puppy, cute giant fox. I think he's very intrigued by this. And one funny little detail is that when Christopher goes back, since he has his suspicions of like, this feels really familiar for some reason, he winds up showing Sin a picture and describing the encounter that he had. And it was really cute because Tatty actually showed the picture that he would draw basically. And I said that Sin would think it's absolutely adorable, which is so true. And it's just really funny. I really like this scenario and this scene. I think it's very cute. Like I said, I can't wait to actually do it and work out all the details. I think it'll be super fun. But yeah, that is the basic gist. I'm really excited. I'm actually pretty proud of Sin's beast form. I think it came out really well, and I'm actually excited to share it. So this is the first time I'm actually properly sharing it because I know what it actually looks like now. They're all very different, so they all have a very unique look to them, I think. But yeah, that is all of the prompts for now. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I just want to say, especially if you got this far in the video, have some cookies again, first of all. Second of all, thank you so much for watching. I am actually incredibly excited. The fact that this is, like I said, week 3 out of 4 for the videos that I'm making in this longer form, that is absolutely crazy. I know that everything is kind of hectic and wild right now, so it is it feels a little bit weird for me to say that, like, I hope everyone is having fun, but because of everything being hectic and crazy, I hope that you are able to kind of indulge in something that keeps you a little bit sane, keeps you going a little bit. I know that art is a huge thing that, you know, can help with stuff like that. And in particular, sticking to a daily challenge or something that has prompts and things can be really helpful for, you know, maybe if you like to draw every day, but you don't always know what to do. It can be really fun. For those of you who want to just do it for fun, we still have our list available, and we're, you know, it's gonna remain available. So if at any point you guys want to do prompts for any reason, even if you don't want to do them every single day, you can definitely feel free to use the prompts list. Tatty has made that so aesthetically pleasing, so I think it's just fun anyways. So you can get that on both of our pages. I particularly allow a download from my DeviantArt if that is easier for you to get. Those are all in the description. But yeah, I think that the next video, I will obviously be talking about the art, but I would like to share some of my thoughts and feelings on the challenge and the process itself, if I'm able to, if I remember, because sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh, I want to say all this, and then I forget what I want to say. I'm sure there was plenty of stuff I forgot to say in this as well, but yeah. That is pretty much it for now. I hope that all of your art is going well. Please share what you're working on. And like I said, please check out both of our pages. So me and Tatty are both posting daily on TikTok, and we've been sharing to YouTube Shorts as well. So you can find those videos in shorter form here if you prefer that instead, maybe, or if you just want to hear more yapping. I did repeat some of the things that I said in the shorter videos, but I also tried to say some more of the stuff that I didn't fully get to say in those ones. So hopefully you enjoy that. And then you can see all the images on the pages that I mentioned before. So we are posting to DeviantArt, Kara, TikTok, YouTube, and actually Blue Sky right now. So I hope that you enjoyed the video and hearing about our characters. I am literally so excited to share more. And even though it's been a really big struggle, I actually am feeling pretty proud of a lot of the pieces. And I know that at the end of the month, it is going to be great and a good feeling to feel really accomplished and look back on everything that we did. And once again, I would like to say I feel really happy that I'm getting spoiled with so much of Tatty's amazing art. We usually draw daily, like I said, but it is cool to see fully finished pieces between different various little fun doodles and drawings that we do. So yeah, I will see you all again soon. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on all the pieces. Which ones did you like? Did you think I hit the mark on the prompts? Anything you want to talk about, or again, you could talk about your prompts or anything that you're working on. I would love to hear it and just have like a little conversation going down in the comments and everything. So yeah, again, we both wish you great luck if you are continuing to do this challenge, or if you're just vibing this month and doing whatever. I hope that you're staying somewhat sane. Don't forget to do all the things. Always resist, never stop fighting, and definitely never lose your joy. We're all in this together, so let's make the best of it and do what we can. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for now.